Hello, hello. Welcome back or welcome to the Tower Yoga podcast. It's been a minute at the time of this recording. It's been a fun summer of not recording. I'm happy to get back into it and really happy to be sitting here to do another round of interviews from our most recent cohort of teacher training. I'm here with Jocelyn today, and I'm just happy to have you here. Thanks for coming on and sharing your story. I want to, of course, ask you some questions, but take a moment before we get going for you to introduce yourself, let us know about yourself. If there's anything you want the listeners to know, then now is a great time to lay that foundation. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Kellee. I'm Jocelyn, and I'm super grateful to be here. I am very much a creative and an avid yogi, and I just completed my 200 hours with Tower Yoga for YTT in May. And so I love all things movement, whether it be physical, emotional, energetic. I'm here for it. And so not only has that been a huge part of yoga teacher training, but just kind of that evolution of self. So once again, really grateful to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So you're a lover of movement in all the ways. Is that kind of part of what initially drew you to sign up for the 200-hour teacher training?
Very much. I was put into dance very young, always had that creative spark or kind of just that silly girl that I was as a child. I try and kind of reclaim now today. So yoga and that kind of that space to really strengthen my mind and my body has been really big. And so in the past couple years, it's really grown for me. And so I just thought, wow, more than ever, yoga has really shown up for me, and I've shown up for yoga. And I just kind of want to help facilitate that for others.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. So, was there like a specific moment where you were like, where you knew, like, had this been kind of in the background in your mind? And if so, did the timing just kind of work out, or was there a specific thing that made you know, like, now is the time?
It had been in the back of my mind for a little while. And then I think once you and Jameson did kind of that meet up, kind of giving us some information, that's when I had like no bounds. I had a friend that was also very interested that we hadn't spent a lot of time over the past couple years, and she was in that room as well. And so I just felt like not only was it kind of divine timing, but you just kind of know when you're in the right room. And there was like all bets were off. This is where I needed to be, and I was
Mhm.
willing to show up for that.
Cool. Oh my gosh, awesome. Thank you for first following the curiosity to get more information and
Yay.
then like answering what felt like or what seems like a call, you know? So thank you. So, how has your understanding of yoga evolved from when you first started the training to now being well on the other side of it?
Massive. I really just enjoyed getting to know not only the cohort that we had, but really just that educational standpoint of the philosophy of yoga, right? And what it really means to embody everything that we learn in the world and kind of carry that on a daily and momentary basis. And so I'm somebody who really strives and I guess would be pretty illuminated by structure and routine, which I think is great. And there's a fine line in yoga where we need that structure and that discipline, but there's also a great amount of play. And so I felt like I was able to lean in and, like you said, stay curious. And so I think just going deeper and widening my perspective has been a huge shift. It's not only in that physical form, like we're talking about, of yoga, but just remaining curious, remaining playful, and wanting to learn and being eager to learn is something that, can be dormant in certain parts of our lives, whatever that may be. But I feel like it really reignited all these different parts of myself. And so the ways that I've grown are just tremendous. And I think I was really steadfast on not just helping others, because I knew a transformation would happen, but I just didn't think that it would almost slow me down and invite me to just play in those moments of learning.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some kind of like, I'm probably gonna like botch it, but there's some Alan Watts quote that says like the secret to life is to like look at work and know that it's play. It's like something like that. And it's like
Yes.
keeping that in there, which, I know could probably be a tricky thing in certain scenarios. And, maybe it's hard to make a blanket statement like that, but I definitely like that resonated with me to like try to remember the play in life. The Leela,
Yeah.
is huge. And I also something that struck me is you were saying like you felt this like dedication to knowing that there was going to be a personal transformation, but that you always kept it in your heart that you wanted that to be more go beyond your personal transformation to help others. And I think that's okay. And I have shared in the past before that part of why I started teaching was because I knew that if I just like made it about me and my own personal like growth and transformation, my practice, just my practice, then I would give up on it. It's sad to say, but like it's too easy to give up on myself. But if I knew that, okay, well, I'm going to like do this practice. And then if I teach, I know I will stick to my practice and that will help me as a person. And if I know that like my practice affects the way that I teach and I have that dedication to my students, like I dedicate every single practice I do to my students on my own mat, in my own time when like no one's watching, and having that dedication allows me to show up for myself when I would otherwise want to just like kind of give up on it. Cause it's just for whatever reason, it's really easy for me to give up on myself. And I feel like I have a lot, like the reservoir just seems so much deeper when I'm like thinking about other people. So I think that's why dedications are so powerful in general, not just in yoga, but maybe just in life. Like dedicating to others is huge.
I love that. Totally. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So we're talking about personal transformation. So looking back, was there some kind of unexpected insight or blossoming or something that stands out most from your experience through the process of teacher training?
Well, I think just trusting kind of that inner guidance, right? That kind of innate wisdom that we all carry that sometimes we can have come up with question marks. I think there's part of me that just was able to really trust the things that I was thinking, the things that I was feeling, and the changes that I was going through. And I found myself almost every week before I would come into training on our weekends for training, kind of having this like download is what I call them, and like breakthrough aha moments. And then we'd be in class, and that would somehow relate to the topic of discussion that week. And so just feeling really connected, not only to, that wisdom, but to the people around me and being able to show up and say, okay, this is where I am, or this is who I am, is something that is truly one of the biggest transformations, I think, in this lifetime. Not only kind of learning my voice, but also trusting that wisdom to just say what needs to be said on a level of compassion, of honesty. Again, curiosity, I think, might be one of my favorite words. And so it's just been a huge learning of my own trust.
That's awesome. May I comment on something I observed about you through the training?
Yeah.
So, being in the teacher training, it's a very cerebral thing. We're like learning and it's a lot of like education and all that good stuff. And of course there's so many practices in the physical, but I really observed you like absorbing and assimilating like all the information through like your whole body. And I know that there was like, that you were in your head as we were like asking you to go there with us. But you were someone, especially who I noticed, you didn't just stay there though, and you let the kind of information like flow through you. I observed you and not like I did not ever register as like sighing like bored thing, but you took in a lot of deep breaths and you sighed a lot. And it wasn't the kind of sigh, Jameson and I actually like we would comment on it like all the time where we noticed that like she's really like absorbing. It's like almost like the process of photosynthesis, like you were like taking that information in like life force and then like letting whatever like off gas that you didn't need or whatever. But it was such a very specific kind of full body processing that I don't know if I've like witnessed so consistently in like one individual, and it was really cool.
Thank you, Kelly. That means a lot to me. It almost makes me emotional because it's very important to me that I retain and receive everything on almost a cellular level, like nose to toes is what I call it, where it's like I want
Yeah.
to be here, I want to receive and learn and give back. And so just to know that you witnessed me just kind of soaking that up and that true integration is
It was
massive.
cool. It felt like watching the Nature Channel, like some exotic plant, like
I
really
love
cool.
that.
James
Thank
and I
you.
definitely we commented on it a lot. So that was really cool to notice. Something else that I haven't done in previous episodes yet, but it's now. I'm like, I wish I would have thought about this before, but it's now. So everyone got assigned an anchor buddy in teacher training, and it was someone who you kind of like consistently checked in with throughout the entire process of the training, and almost like an accountability buddy in kind of a way. And so your anchor buddy was Abel, who I'll be chatting with here shortly, and you'll be sharing this episode with him. Is there anything that you took away or learned or were inspired by this individual? You know, of course, there's Farron and Jameson and myself, and we are all, you know, teaching what the curriculum and sharing what we know, but then you're also like peer to peer learning and teaching from each other. And then, of course, we are learning from you as well. It's like a really cool peer to student, student to student, student to self kind of thing. So, yeah, just kind of bringing that in. And it's not lost on me that these anchor buddies are a powerful thing. It's why we do it, it's why we assign it. And we also do try to, because we don't know everyone super well the first day of training. Some students we know a little more than others, but we just sort of go on like our feeling and our gut instinct of like who might be helpful with one another through the process. So yeah, I'm just curious if there's something that you took away from this individual.
One, Abel is one of the most fantastic humans that walks this planet, and I was so grateful to get to know him deeper. We had met in class over time, but in class we're a little more individualized and things like that. And so to really just sit with each other and open up and just, I remember the first day being like, okay, like there's nothing that we can't tell each other, like almost making that boundary of like, whatever it is, let's just talk about it. And whether it be familial, it be our jobs or careers and friendships, I just felt so honored to almost have that unmasked identity with him where we were so kind of confident in the things that we were getting to know about each other. And I think that that allowed me to just open up with other people too, to say, okay, like we're all in this together and I'm here to learn from each human.
I love it. I love it. And on that note, Abel is entering the conversation. So I will be transitioning over to his interview momentarily, but there's a
Awesome.
fun kind of like rapid fire kind of questions that I've been doing in these interviews. So you don't have to overthink it. It doesn't mean that it's your answer forever and ever, but just today. Okay, so for today, downward dog or shavasana, what's your vibe?
Downward dog. Let's move. It's warm outside.
Shavasana.
And then so what's your favorite yoga pose to do when nobody's watching?
Headstands.
Ooh. And if you could take a yoga class with any fictional character, who would it be?
Tigger, because it has to be a hot power.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your story. I think that I was really lucky to be able to be your teacher. I'm, really happy that we got to walk that path together, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you,
And we'll see
Kellee. I
you
feel
later.
honored and have a wonderful time. Bye, Abel.
All right. Well, that was super cool. Abel signed on just as Jocelyn was taking off. And Abel, you don't know this, but before you had signed on, the question was, because you two were anchor buddies in teacher training, like what's something that she learned or took away from you? What was kind of her feeling from being your anchor buddy? So it was kind of cool that you entered stage left and as she was leaving, but we will get more into that and you two being anchor buddies later in the conversation. Right now, I just want to formally welcome Abel onto the podcast. He was, of course, also part of the most recent cohort of teacher training and was Jocelyn's anchor buddy. But I just want to kind of turn it over to you. You can introduce yourself. You can give the listeners any kind of information that you want them to know about you. So welcome on.
Yeah, thank you, Kellee, for launching this podcast. Over a year ago, and it's always great to learn so much from people's perspectives and just different aspects of the human experience. Of course, we're all different. So thank you first and foremost for setting this up, for orchestrating this. Yeah, so I'm Abel, and I am. My background is I come from a immigrant household, Catholic, and we were never really taught about self-care and mindfulness and yoga. Like in most households, I guess I feel comfortable, I guess, stating that publicly. So anyway, I'm just here uh, to I guess process and just articulate how my journey has been, given that background of mine as a yogi and now newly certified yoga instructor.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. And I do think that to give context when you're comfortable to do that is always nice because, of course, it feels like sometimes we're alone on an island and we're the only one with these circumstances. And while they are unique and they are your own, it's surprising how much people have in common. So thank you for just giving voice to that and giving a little context for anyone who might identify with that. And now they can feel a little bit more seen. So with all that said, then how did you kind of get into the practice? And then from there, what drew you to actually sign up for a teacher training?
So the truth is, right, speaking of Satya, which is, for those who don't know, it's like the yoga concept of truthfulness and authenticity. It's my very first yoga class that I ever tried was actually in high school. But the way I like to think about it is yoga found me. And it was only one time in high school. And I tried it, I think, one other time in graduate school, I believe. Yeah, when I was in Boston doing my graduate program, I tried it, I think, once or twice out there. But the practice didn't find me meaningfully until June of 2021. And it was actually you, Kellee, in case you might have forgotten, it was you who was the instructor that night. I think it was like after the 8 p.m. class, because this was definitely after 9 p.m. when I was passing by the Wishan entrance into the studio, and you had the door ajar to let some fresh air in. And I was just like, Curious George, I was just kind of like, I was like, who are you? What are you? Like, what is this? Like, what's happening right now? And you were like, oh, this is a yoga studio. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Because I didn't even look at the flyer on the window or the
Yeah, I
banner,
remember
whatever you guys.
that.
Yeah, and so
And
it
you were
was,
like, I've tried that before. Yeah, I remember.
yeah, and I was just kind of like, and it was cute because, you're like, this is a yoga studio, and you were like very respectful, very kind. You weren't like, you weren't like, it was just, you were just responding, but I was kind of like, oh yeah, I know it's a yoga studio, but I kind of felt like I had opened the door to Narnia, like I was just kind of like,
It would seem like that from the Wishan side too, when we like rarely open that door. So that's like a perfect way to put it.
yeah, like I literally like, and I had never really thought about it literally in those words that I just finished, like, saying, but yeah, because it's this space that's, so where a lot of transformation happens. It feels very sacred and inclusive and safe, and you
There's a
go into a
resonance that
different.
buildings develop. Like there's places they start to build like almost like a frequency or something like that. And what's like interesting is I remember when I met you and that whole conversation was happening, I could tell that you were like drawn in, like you were like magnetizing towards, and it did actually feel like the practice was like calling you in, it was like there was something deeper there where I was like, oh, like this is like magnets, and I was just watching. It was really cool. Yeah. Yeah, so then you
Yeah,
started practicing after that.
yeah, so I guess, yeah, so it's interesting that you witnessed that moment yourself, and then yeah, obviously now, and then I started coming inconsistently in 2021. Well, actually, I only did the 1 week trial in 2021, and then 2022 I started coming more regularly, and then in 2023 was when you and when you and Farron, when you guys engineered the hot lift and flow class. at Tower Yoga, that's when my practice started getting deeper and more consistent.
Yeah, and we had some conversations like outside of the practice space and even outside of the studio, like meeting up for coffee and kind of talking about a lot of things and things that come up for people when they're family and it's not in the kind of cultural psyche to understand that yoga isn't going against your belief systems per se. It doesn't have to, all these kinds of things. I remember having these kinds of conversations with you, and you really, I think that was part of you diving deeper in your practice, was sort of untangling some of that. And I just appreciate you reaching out, and I appreciated those conversations. And I think that you did very thoughtfully kind of untangle some of these things and stay committed to your practice and really your experience. And then from there, it didn't, I was overjoyed. But it totally didn't surprise me when you were like, I'm interested in teacher training, because yeah, you were just so thoughtful in this kind of commitment to your practice. So I was like, of course you'd want to take it deeper. You're taking it serious is what I felt, you're taking your practice serious and at the same time having fun. But I could tell you were serious about your practice.
No, yes. And and it's interesting because obviously initially I was drawn to the practice for my mental health since I do have anxiety, but I didn't know that this world of yoga was going to open up so many opportunities to engage in, self-examination and heal from different internal wounds. And so it's been a great journey for me, and I'm thankful that Tower Yoga was a safe space for me and an inclusive space, and very inspirational to have the seat of a student before you and Jameson and Farron and everyone, Janelle.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Now, how would you say that your understanding of yoga, or even your practice, whether it's physical or philosophical, how has that evolved from the time before teacher training to now?
I think I started the training having already had consistent practice and having already had several different types of personal transformations. So I feel like the biggest transformation that I went through in the training was I guess a confirmation of that I'm supposed to be where I'm at. So I guess it's to be succinct, it's really engaging with satya, really engaging with acceptance, with self-acceptance and just external acceptance, like social acceptance of this is where I'm supposed to be, in this, at this place, at this time, at this part of my lifetime. And I believe I'm supposed to be receiving this instruction. I'm supposed to be guided spiritually in this way. I'm supposed to be, so it was just, I guess, really engaging with that concept of satya, of self-acceptance and acceptance in general.
That actually really aligns with Jocelyn's, I think, big kind of evolution, as she was saying, she really had the chance to deepen her ability to trust the process of life and her own and her place in the world. And so that's actually really beautiful how you both sort of align, and you're on a similar frequency there. Looking back, what, unexpected thing happened in training? Was there something that surprised you, or was there nothing that surprised you? Was anything oh, whoa, I didn't expect that?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out, although it is appropriate, I'm wondering if this is something I need to discuss with my therapist or with you, but it could be with both. It's fine. But
Okay.
what I noticed was that because, I think it's irrelevant, as a yogi to compare your journey to that of another yogi. But because it's a practice and there's really no binary of doing good or bad or better or worse or the best or whatever. But I feel like I definitely had, like I said, like I mentioned earlier, I had already done quite a bit of work mentally and emotionally, thanks to the Dharma talks that you guys integrate into the classes at Tower Yoga very thoroughly and very respectfully. That when during the training, I feel like what was coming up for other people had already come up for me, like pretty early on in my engagement with the practice at Tower Yoga in 2022 and 2021, I would say. And so I took the seat of the observer and I just observed myself, like not really like there were people who, were displaying emotional responses to different conversation topics and different concepts that we were learning about in the training. But I just thought it was interesting that I couldn't really cry, or I couldn't really like. But then I also thought, like, could that be a testament to my earlier growth, and
Mm-hmm.
in my earlier Tower Yoga days, before the training, like and I'm just so yeah, so I've been meditating on that still, because I'm like, like, dang, is that really like a parigraha, detachment from outcomes and expectations and norms? Is that really a symptom of that? Is that symptomatic of that working inside of me, emotionally and spiritually?
Mm-hmm.
But I
It
just
could be, honestly, and it could be too, though, that like if it's something that wasn't, it could be just an example of you honoring you, and you maybe just process differently. And if you didn't feel like you needed to release through crying, then you didn't feel that. And it would have been performative if you tried to. And we don't have to talk about right or wrong with that either, but like you had enough, honoring of yourself to just be as you are. And that's what we always encourage people in the trainings and our students to just come as you are. You don't have to be a certain way. And so I think there's a big piece to that. I will also say, like, there's that Joni Mitchell in one of her songs, she says, crying and laughing, it's all the same release. And you laughed a lot. And that was cool because it brought a lot of joy and levity to some topics that did get a little like heavier or big. And so that was always like, you gave a lot of comedic relief in the training, which is awesome, through you making light. And maybe that is like part of like how you were releasing through what seemed like different, but actually is maybe coming from a similar place. And I thought it was cool too, because you could sit there and really hold space for people who were going through something, because you would recognize like that's a process that I lived through and living through, or whatever. There are conversations, like I said earlier, that you and I even had, in private, where these kinds of things were like kind of coming up, and so you had already sat with this and meditated with this, and you could just be a space holder. And that was really beautiful, because to have that kind of presence, it was nice. I do feel like I know people held space for you as well. And I hope that we held a good space for you. But you, if I can comment on something I observed about your energy and what you brought to the training, was very much that, like a very safe, like masculine presence that was able to sort of hold. And that was nice. That was a nice thing that you
thank you.
added. Yeah. So thank you for that. Okay, so I want to honor our time. We're already kind of going a little bit over, but before I just let you go, we'll ask you the same thing I asked Jocelyn, that, you were anchor buddies through the entire experience of teacher training. And was there something that you either like took away from her, that you learned from her directly or indirectly, or was there just an impression that really made an impact in some small or big way? What's your like takeaway from being anchor buddies with Jocelyn, essentially?
I think she's just such, I felt really comfortable around her, and I felt really comfortable whenever you guys would, take a pause during the training and encourage us to reconnect with each other and check in on each other. Like, it just felt so organic and very, very safe. And I just felt like, yeah, like as you said earlier, I think we definitely have existed in similar frequencies, in the sense that, like, from the beginning, like I felt like we were just picking back off of each other. We were just like really building off of each other. And even though we had different childhoods and identity wise, we have some differences, but like I felt like we were not exactly the same person, but yeah, like it just felt very, very easy to talk to each other, and to just understand each other.
You really saw each other. And I felt that. And I'm excited for you to listen back to this episode and like hear what she said, because I think It'll just be spot on. All right. So before we go, I'll ask you some of those same rapid fire questions I was asking her when you arrived. You already answered one of them. It was the downward dog or Shavasana. What's your vibe today? You said Shavasana. So you don't have to elaborate on any of these kinds of things, but all right. And I'm going to kind of change it up though and ask you a different question. If yoga were a food, what would it be?
All of the food.
All of the food? Just nourishment?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Have you ever snored in Shavasana? Be honest.
No. But I've fallen asleep during Shavasana.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. So, and I'll ask you the same question I ended with Jocelyn. If you could take a yoga class with any fictional character, who would it be?
That's a tough one.
It can be a character in a movie. It could be something that was animated. It could be real life. You could have just make someone up.
I think I would probably want to take yoga with either Anne Frank or Hanuman, the half monkey, half human.
Ooh, nice. Nice. All right. Well, cool. Thank you so much for your time. I know that you're have a busy day, so I appreciate you for sneaking this in so much and making it happen. Thank you for sharing your story. And it's just, yeah, it was a real like honor and privilege to be able to be a teacher on your journey. And I still love having you in class.
No, thank you. Yeah, I think you guys do a great job of holding a safe space and really, being a part of everyone's yogi journeys.
Thank you. And also, I love your shirt, by the way. So
thank you.
all right, we'll talk to you later. Bye.